Morning guys. Not sure how well you can see me. I'm sat in my garden, so the sun's in a bit funny place, but I'm going to read the next chapter of Wonderful You. We are up to page 97, and the chapter's called The Padawan Bites the Dust. Excuse me. I'll just have a big cough before we start. I'm not sure at what point that night Augie had cut off his Padawan braid, or why that made me really mad. I had always found his obsession with everything Star Wars kind of geeky, and that braid in the back of his hair with its little beads was just awful. But he had always been so proud of it, of how long it took him to grow, how he'd chosen the beads himself in a craft store in Soho. He and Christopher, his best friend, used to play with lightsabers and Star Wars stuff whenever they got together, and they had both started growing their braids at the same time. When August cut off his braid that night, without an explanation, without telling me beforehand, which was surprising, or even calling Christopher, I was just so upset. I can't even explain why. I've seen Augie brushing his hair in the bathroom mirror. He meticulously tries to get every piece in place. He tilts his head to look at himself from different angles, like there's some magic perspective inside the mirror that could change the dimensions of his face. Excuse me. I ate some Easter egg before reading this, and it's made my throat really dry. Mum knocked on my door after dinner. She looked drained, and I realised that between me and Augie, today had been a tough day for her too. So you want to tell me what's up now? She asked nicely, softly. No, not now, okay, I answered. I was reading. I was tired. Maybe later I'd be up to telling her about Miranda, but not now. I'll check in on you before you go to bed then, she said, and then she came over and kissed me on top of my head. Can Daisy sleep with me tonight? Sure, I'll bring her in later. Don't forget to come back, I said as she left. I promise. But she didn't come back that night. Dad did. He told me Augie had had a bad first day and Mum was helping him through it. He asked me how my day had gone, and I told him fine. He said he didn't believe me for a second, and I told him how Miranda and Ella were acting like jerks. I didn't mention how I took the subway home by myself, though. He said nothing tests friendships like high school, and then proceeded to poke fun at the fact I was reading War and Peace. Not real fun, of course, since I heard him brag to people that he had a 15-year-old who was already reading Tolstoy. But he liked to rib me about it, about where I was in the book, in the war part or in the peace part, and if there was anything in there about Napoleon's days as a hip-hop dancer. It was silly stuff, but Dad always managed to make everyone laugh. And sometimes that's all you need to make you feel better. Don't be mad at Mum, he said as he bent down to give me a goodnight kiss. You know how much she worries about Augie? I know, I acknowledged. You want the light on or off? It's getting kind of late, he said, pausing by the light switch at the door. Can you bring Daisy in first? 2 seconds later he came back with Daisy dangling in his arms, and he laid her down next to me on the bed. Good night, sweetheart, he said, kissing my forehead. He kissed Daisy on her forehead too. Good night, girlie. Sweet dreams. Next chapter, an apparition at the door. Once I got up in the middle of the night because I was thirsty, and I saw Mum standing outside Augie's room. Her hand was on the doorknob, her forehead leaning on the door, which was ajar. She wasn't going into his room or stepping out, just standing right outside the door, as if she was listening to the sound of his breathing as he slept. The hallway lights were off. The only thing illuminating her was the blue nightlight in August's bedroom. She looked ghost-like standing there, or maybe I should say angelic. I tried to walk back into my room without disturbing her, but she heard me and walked over to me. Is Augie okay? I asked. I knew that sometimes he would wake up choking on his own saliva if he accidentally turned over on his back. Oh, he's fine, she said, wrapping her arms around me. She walked me back into my room, pulled the covers over me, and kissed me goodnight. She never explained what she was doing outside his door, and I never asked. I wonder how many nights she stood outside his door, and I wonder if she's ever stood outside my door like that. Why do you think the mum is standing outside August's room? Next chapter, breakfast. Can you pick me up from school today? I said the next morning, smearing some cream cheese on my bagel. Mum was making August lunch, American cheese on whole wheat bread, soft enough for Augie to eat, while August was sat eating an oatmeal eating oatmeal at the table. Dad was getting ready to go to work. Now that I was in high school, the new school routine was going to be that Dad and I would take the subway together in the morning, which meant his having to leave 15 minutes earlier than usual. Then I'd get off at my stop and he'd keep going. Mum was going to pick me up after school in the car. I was going to call Miranda's mother to see if she could drive you home again, Mum answered. No, Mum, I answered quickly. You pick me up or I'll just take the subway. You know I don't want you to take the subway by yourself yet, she answered. Mum, I'm 15. Everybody my age takes the subway by themselves. She can take the subway home, said Dad from the other room, adjusting his tie as he stepped into the kitchen. Why can't Miranda's mother just pick her up again? Mum argued with him. She's old enough to take the subway by herself, Dad insisted. Mum looked at both of us. Is something going on? She didn't address her question to either one of us in particular. You would know if you would have come back to check on me last night, I said spitefully, like you said you would. Oh God, Via, Mum said, remembering now how she had completely ditched me last night. She put down the knife she was using to cut Augie's grapes in half, still a choking hazard for him because of the size of his palate. I'm so sorry. I fell asleep in Augie's room. By the time I woke up... I know. I nodded indifferently. Mum came over, put her hands on my cheeks and lifted my face to look at her. I'm really, really sorry, she whispered. I could tell she was. It's okay, I said. Via, Mum, it's fine. This time I meant it. She looked so genuinely sorry, I just wanted to let her off the hook. She kissed and hugged me and returned to the grapes. So is something going on with Miranda? She asked. Just that she's acting like a complete jerk, I said. Miranda's not a jerk, Augie quickly chimed in. She can be, I yelled. Believe me. Okay, then I'll pick you up, no problem, Mum said decisively, sweeping the half grapes into a snack bag with the side of her knife. That was the plan all along anyway. I'll pick Augie up from school in the car and then we'll pick you up. We'll pray get there about 3:45. No, I said firmly, before she even finished. Isabel, she can take the subway, said Dad impatiently. She's a big girl now. She's reading War and Peace, for crying out loud. What does War and Peace have to do with anything? Answered Mum, clearly annoyed. It means that you don't have to pick her up in the car like she's a little girl, he said sternly. Via, are you ready? Get your bag and let's go. I'm ready, I said, pulling on my backpack. Bye, Mum. Bye, Augie. I kissed them both quickly and headed towards the door. Do you even have a Metro card? Mum said after me. Of course she has a Metro card, Dad answered, fully exasperated. Yeesh, Mama, stop worrying so much. Bye, he said, kissing her on the cheek. Bye, big boy, he said to August, kissing him on the top of his head. I'm proud of you. Have a good day. Bye, Daddy. You too. Dad and I jogged down the stoop stairs and headed down the block. Call me after school before you get on the subway, Mum yelled at me from the window. I didn't even turn around, but I waved my hand at her so she knew I'd heard. Dad did turn around, walking backwards a few steps. War and peace, Isabel, he called out, smiling as he pointed at me. War and peace. That's the end for today. Bye.